Okay, we've come back now at a point where I've really more or less finished the smoothing of the outside using the push knife, and as you can see, it's acquired quite a smooth outside. It's also pretty much near the shape that I'm going to finally have, and this in this case was governed by the shape really of the piece of wood that I was using. So the outside shape of the outside of the tree, the circumference of the outside of the tree, has really dictated the shape of the bowl really. So we're really working with nature here. What I've also done is to redraw back in the fishtail handle to work with now, because I'm going to shape that. One of the things to notice at this point is that the Kuksa is still unbalanced, so the weight of the tail is still too much. So we're going to take some length out of that tail, and we're going to carve it in here. What we're also going to do is to carve out under here and neaten all this very rough material here out, neaten it all up, bring a kind of a curve in there, so it will then facilitates holding the Kuksa, because this is essentially how it will be held, like this. The final finish will be to neaten up the top of this with a very sharp, slightly crook knife. Is a long-handled crook knife is what I use. We'll show you that. And then at the bottom, what we also need to do is flatten this off. Probably use the same tool to do that. Just shave it off and get it nice and flat so it will sit nicely on the table. Now what I'm going to do, there's quite a lot of material on this, the top on the handle like this. It would take a very long time to actually take it all off with a knife. So what I'm going to do is just quickly axe off material that we don't want. So here I'm using what is called bump cuts, and you know, just ordinary cuts, but the bump cuts are very useful if you want to accurately follow your line that you've drawn. If you're a bit more confident with axing, you chop away. And what you've got to remember is you're cutting right across at 90 degrees for fibres again, so it's quite a tough job. Well, I'm doing this with an axe is much quicker than if you try to do this with a knife. I can absolutely tell you. The other thing you've got to be careful about is chipping. So again, when you come to the end, just stop short of the end and come back the other way, because it's very easy to chip the end of your handle, and then it's kind of difficult to say, because of course the closer you get to your final shape, the more difficult it will be to rectify any mistakes that you make. So just axing that away now. Not the easiest thing in the world. Coming around like that, just taking that off. Okay, still a little bit rough and ready, but that can be finished off with the knife, like that. And already, just taking that little bit of extra material off, the Kuksa now more or less sits and it doesn't fall over. So, again, I'm afraid I'm very prone to cutting my fingers at this stage. The knife I'm going to use is a Robin Wood. This Robin Wood more open curve knife, wood tools. I use this a lot really for finishing and so on. It also used for spoon carving, but it's very nice finishing off the bowl. So first up is really completing the handle, like so. Just coming little bit of back push strokes, perfectly safe because you've got the body of the Kuksa in the way. Not going to stab yourself in the chest. So it's a sort of twisting action, trying to establish a nice curve on this fishtail handle. Look at that, there you go. Much easier to work than the semi-dried sycamore that we were using yesterday. This is green. It's really probably was on actual tree just only a few weeks ago, so really very green. Here we go, just establishing that curve like that. There we go. It's meeting me. If it's difficult to meet the two directions of cutting, if you just shave it 90 degrees across, it finishes it off really nice and it cleans it up. So same on the other side, opposite direction. The grain on this is quite nice. This is flowering cherry, not cherries that, well, not a sort of tree that produces cherries, but flowering tree. It's carving really well. Of course, it's very green. Makes enormous help. A lot of the wood that we get comes from managed forests, and a lot of that forest management occurs early in the year. Now, this means, of course, a lot of your wood is going to come into your workshop early in the year and it's going to dry out. Now, we've had a very, very dry spring, and actually a lot of the sycamore and the silver birch that we brought in, it's really dried out now, and although it was green when we started, we're getting lots of really deep cracks, and those can really cause us a problem, because those cracks, sometimes you think you've cut into the wood enough to get rid of them, but as we saw yesterday, they can start to open up while you're carving and cause all sorts of problems. So this very, very hot, dry spring we've had has been nice, but it's not done us any favours in terms of gold bowl carving. So there we go. I've just cleaned that up a little bit, just a little bit to go to get the final shape, but now the weight of that tail is much better, a much better balance. Now, the other thing I said, we need to go under here. Again, we'll be carving at right angles to the grain, but with the robin wood we can use it to really quickly remove this messy material here, planing away like that in 90 degrees. If the blade seems like it's getting a little bit reluctant, what I do is I just give it a little bit of a tickle up with a stropping board like this. This is a green stropping compound, and simply with a I guess the compound's a little bit like toothpaste. It's very fine grain, like toothpaste, and just like this, it's like a strop that a barber would use, Sweeney Todd would use. What I'm doing is backstroking the outer edge of the curved knife, flicking it, just finding the edge of the blade and easing it down the stropping board, twisting as we go. It's an action that will take a little bit of practice, but once you have, it's a great way of sharpening and keeping sharp your curved knives, which can really be a bit of a problem. People always ask me, how do you keep your curved knives sharp? Well, what I say to them is, I don't let them get blunt in the first place. And part of that is making sure you strop. As soon as you start to feel the blade working a little bit too hard, just give it a few stropping strokes. Now, with a curved blade, you need also a doweling. You could use a piece of doweling, stick an old piece of leather belt on there, and again apply the green stropping compound and just remove the burr which is formed as we've stropped the outer edge. And just do the inner edge. You know you're taking material because it goes black. Just very, very little material. And very often you immediately feel the results. There you go. You immediately feel the benefits of that stropping. The blade's moving through the wood much, much easier now. So, what I'm going to do now is just roughly get to that point. It needs quite a lot of extra work, will take quite some time. The other thing, as I said, is the base. Again, it's just reaming it flat, trying to get it flat to match the upper edge of your kuksa. And on the top, it's really then a case of getting that wobbly, very wobbly kind of top edge straight. And with the large handle, the long handle kuksa, you can just sit it on the bowl like that and use it really as a sort of, to keep the blade straight as you go around and do your cleanup. So it's a great way, you just come round here, it's a great way of cleaning up the top edge of your kuksa. Anyway, we'll leave it there just now, and we will do the final bit of the video where I show you the final product before it goes for boiling.